we want to speak about different choices. Yeah. I have precise 20-year career paths in the world of fashion retail, and this journey took me to a lot of places in the world. I traveled extensively, I worked in different countries, and I had the most glamorous life one can ever imagine. But with every time that I did better in my career, I kind of felt something pinching inside me. There was a movement going on which was just the opposite of my career graph. So at one point of time, I just took a call and I said, I've got to quit this and think about it and see where this is headed. So as a person, I was always somebody who was very conscious about her choices that she made and all about that was in my kitchen. So I was always about good ingredients, no refined foods, no processed foods, native cooking processes, and so on and so forth. I just got the fussy woman in the kitchen, Oh my God, she just keeps fussing about cooking home food and stuff like that. But these things have not yet moved on to the areas where of other habit consumptions that we have. They were still restricted to the kitchen. Soon enough, I learned about the harm that my fashion industry was doing to our planet. And it takes from exactly what our previous speaker online just spoke. Apparently, one pair of jeans takes 7,500 liters of water to manufacture. That's about one person's drinking water quota for 7 years. And it also takes 1,500 kilowatts of electricity to produce it with its machinery, which is, I do not know how many bulbs we can light with that. Think of Swades Bijli, the old lady says, right? So that was really terrible. And then I also learned that fast fashion is doing tremendous damage, The Atacama Desert that Josephine just spoke about, it is now, it receives 65,000 tons of garment waste every year. And there are many more such sites. It's not the only site. This one's visible from space. There are many more. Tens and thousands of garments are dumped in these sites, and they sit there waiting to decompose so that someday they can get back into soil. But the problem is that while they decompose, all the dyes and all the processes that go in garment production, those chemicals leach out into the soil, and they leach out and cause water pollution, air pollution, which then goes back into our food and creates toxins for us. Yeah, so what do we do now? So I was like, oh my God, this is terrible. I can't go on with this. So I quit my very successful career, took to the road, and I started thinking, and accidentally I discovered bamboo. And while I was working with bamboo, I discovered that we have to do something. There is a lot of sustainability value in using bamboo. And I also learned that while we are trying very hard to control CO2 emissions, we cannot eliminate any of it, Because you've got to eliminate it. You've got to all stop breathing right now, because we forget, we also breathe out CO2 every breath, right? So that's not possible. But what we can do is do a little bit to choose wisely. Yeah? So, how does this process start, and why is all this so important? Why is this pursuit so important? I guess by now we all know that CO2 emissions are the most significant contributor to global warming, right? Let's look at carbon dioxide parts per million timeline, somewhere around the year 1780s, when the Industrial Revolution took off, is when the first steam engine was invented, and it started with somewhere in Britain over there, 200 years later, Industrial Revolution made the carbon ppm go up to 310. So 200 years from 280 to 310. And 40 years from 1980 to 2020, we have crossed 420 ppm. And that's a lot. Scientists and IPCC and all those wise guys who study a lot of science, they tell us that 450 is meltdown, which means it's the point where life begins to end. We took only 40 years to do 110 counts. I do not know what we have lying ahead of us. Scary, right? Are we doomed? Well, I think no. With a little bit reading that I have done, I have come across multiple experiments that have been conducted where forests and oceans have come back to life. In a short span of 30 years, Chernobyl, which was a disaster site, and Amazon rainforests, which are constantly disappearing, have got regenerated. Oceans, with controlled fishing methods, have brought corals back to life, and marine life has been thriving around it. So there is hope. While this is all about the macro picture, which we expect governments to do, what are we 8 billion people doing? We are the micro, we think, but truly 8 billion is the real macro. It is our choices that can actually change the industrial swing. So how do we choose better? It's very simple. It's very simple. We've got to think about what is the impact of our consumer behavior. Consumer products degenerate the planet at the time of manufacturing and as well as the time of disposing. So it is not a one-point consideration. We must take it through the life cycle. When you choose materials that emit lesser CO2 at the time of production, like plastic, metal, glass, and so on and so forth, we can help bring down the global warming. By choosing natural materials that degenerate naturally, we ensure that the soil pollution, air and water pollution is controlled. Because if we don't do that, they end up in landfills and again leach all their decomposing harmful chemicals back into our soil, put that back into the food we grow, and then we wonder how our children get so sick. Yeah, leave alone that the waste burn-off adds to global warming, right? And of course, there is the other option, which is recycling. Now, but we all think that recycling may be a conscious choice, but is it really done effectively? Globally, just 9 to 10% of collected waste, and hear me, I said collected, not generated. So 9 to 10% of collected waste actually gets recycled. The rest of the 90% still goes through this entire decomposition, pollution cycle, right? And then what happens? If you put it through that entire process, it again, recycling creates the next round of CO2 emissions, right? So recycled and recyclable are two different things. You can't mix them up. And you must think that if you didn't choose a high carbon emitting material in the first place, maybe they didn't have to get recycled and create the next round of emissions. Hence, we must now consider that as consumers, how can we make this small difference? It's really simple. Just go through your daily routine, morning to evening. What are you going through? Oh, sorry, I jumped a point. I'm going to come back. I'm going to take a really quick example of a toothbrush. Now, an average human being uses approximately, a decently hygienic guy would be using 3 toothbrushes a year. Consider he lives 70 years. Even if he lives longer, he will use them to clean his dentures. So it's all right. So he's going to use about, say, 200, at least at a very lower estimate, 200 toothbrushes a year, right? Multiply that, say, to half of our global population, because, say, half of them don't even have the privilege of a toothbrush, poor things. We are some of the better ones, right? So 4 billion people are using 200 toothbrushes. That makes a lifetime discarding of 800 billion toothbrushes. Now, these 800 billion toothbrushes are going to sit in the soil somewhere.
In this lifetime, still exist. In fact, all of the plastic toothbrushes created since the invention of the plastic toothbrush in the 1930s still exist. Billions of plastic toothbrushes.
Yes, so 800 billion toothbrushes in a lifetime are waiting in the soil to decompose, leach chemicals, blah, blah, whole decomposition process, right? Let's look at the manufacturing impact of these 800 billion toothbrushes. Is it number of zeros are hard to even count, right? Each toothbrush roughly weighs about 18 grams. So if you did the maths again of 800 billion into 18 grams, it's about 144 billion kilos of plastic that we first put into the machinery, did the CO2 emission, pulled out the polymer from the earth, did all that rubbish. And then we say, okay, let's recycle it maybe. I don't really know. But if we did, then we do the entire CO2 emissions all over again. So the point is that we need to start thinking right at source about the choice of material. Recycled, recyclable, questionable. So I'm hearing most of you say that, I really care now, I'm really bothered about all of this, and what do I do? It's really, really simple, When I started making these decisions, I was also really naive and I didn't know what I was doing. 20 years I did the wrong thing. Obviously, I didn't know what I was doing. But I'm no environmental scientist, and if I can get these numbers, it's simple arithmetic, and you've got enough devices doing the maths for you, I'm sure you can do it too. You just need to choose better. You need to choose low carbon emitting materials so that at the time of production they don't give out as much heat and they do not give out that much warmth. And you need to choose more that organically decompose. This process is not an instantaneous one. It takes time. One small choice gives rise to another. One small change brings about another. You need to give yourself time to break old habits and form new ones. You need to give yourself time to discover more ways to conserve planetary resources because we need them. But hey, don't take too much time. Remember the timeline I told you, 420 ppm, 450 ppm? We don't really have much time. So take your time, but don't take too long. Yeah? It's just simple things that you can do, Everyday routine, morning, personal care happens. Can we use substitutes there? Food that is a vital part of our daily life. Can we do more home cooked meals? Can we carry our own cutlery if we have to go out? Reusable cups, all of that. Lifestyle habits, shopping bags. Can you carry your own? Can you carpool to work? Can you have a plant-based diet? Or at least reduce the meat and dairy and try more plant-based diet. Small things go such a long way because remember the power is in the multiplication of 8 billion people, right? And then the house that you have. You want to have fancy metal and glass lighting, wooden teak furniture. What is deforestation? Metal glass is high carbon emitting. Can you find alternatives there? Can there be more natural materials in use? So yes, of course, we must look at all of this. Alternative choices also need this awareness. We also need to know that all natural materials are not the same. All natural materials are not cane. Yeah? There are different kinds of natural materials like jute, bamboo, coir, water hyacinth, corner grass, so many different grasses, vines and creepers. And all of these have different sustainability values and some are not even sustainable. The other thing that we must also have awareness of is, are you being brainwashed? Just seeing a green carton packaging, green color on it, or seeing a stamp that says organic or eco-friendly doesn't cut it, Do you really care enough to read more and see what the real line is? Yeah. So all of this is what we need to understand, and all of this is what makes the awareness come through. I would like to talk about just the choice of material that I took, which is bamboo, when I started woody grass. And I'll tell you why. First of all, bamboo has a twofold advantage. It gives out more oxygen and sequesters more carbon. That is great for all of our breathing and air problems. Second of all, it regenerates 10 times faster than your timber. You want to have the classy wooden furniture? Sorry, this is faster. Yeah? What about the farmer who's doing all the plantation? We've heard farmers speak today, we've heard fashion guys speak today. The farmer gets 20 times better yield. Haven't we heard enough farmer suicides already? Can we do something for them? Then, what else is there about bamboo? Bamboo is not manufactured in a factory, so there is no CO2 emission at all. Zero at the time of production. Isn't that fantastic? Right? And it's not even that the use of it is limited to small basketry that we see, or that cheap mat, or that like, no. There's so much more. There is food that comes from bamboo. You can have salts and pickles. And then you can have bamboo charcoal to grill your favorite kebabs on it. Then there is so much that you can do with your home and your interiors. You can have engineered bamboo flooring, you can have furniture, you can have lighting. You can even do construction. And hey, I'm not talking about the crude, brittle scaffolding. I'm talking of entire structures, right, Tanula, that is made with bamboo. And that can be durable if you just go through the right processes. All of this is the benefits of bamboo, right? So, where does this leave us? Where does this leave us? I'm not here to say that we've all got to become planet warriors. We're not here to save the earth. The earth is vast. It's been here for billions of years. We are just a speck. We come and we go. Who really needs saving is us. Who really needs saving is our children. Do you leave behind a legacy of a bungalow or a car or lots of bank balance? Or you give them real food and real water, clean air, not an oxygen tank on their back? That's the legacy that we want to do. That's the legacy we want to leave behind. So the choice is yours. Thank you.